College football week 9 is upon us. We've got some top 25 games, some barking dogs. We got the Steam report with VR. Is the Deli back open? An astonishing 61.7% on the season. And of course, we've got those best bets coming up next on Bet on It. All right, starting off with these top 25 games, and I'm going to go first. 12 p.m. Eastern, number 9, Vanderbilt, plus 2.5. At number 20, Texas, 45.5. I did a show this morning with some of my good friends over there on Bet Sweats, and they said, Kelly, is Vanderbilt going to be a square dog this week? And I thought, man, they might be. This Vanderbilt team, 15-6 against the spread since the beginning of last season. 5-1 against the number with an average cover margin of 13.1 points per game on the road in the SEC. I like this Vanderbilt team. Diego Pavia won another game. They said that they could not win. Last year, Texas went to Nashville, 17-point road favorites, and Vanderbilt gave them a scare. And it's scary. Arch Manning got knocked out last week versus Mississippi State. Texas needed overtime to just give me one of those, another double-digit lead blown by my underdogs and my 3-team moneyline parlay. If Arch isn't a go, Matthew Caldwell seems serviceable, but this guy's got to bounce around from school to school. He's had 5 starts in his college career, 8 interceptions in those games. I know that Vanderbilt might seem square, but I am not in the business of laying points with this Texas Longhorns team, and I'm probably not going to get involved in this game. I have Texas not to make the playoff. I have Texas under season wins, so I'm just going to sit back and hope the Doors can get the job done for me. VR, you're up next, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 18, Oklahoma, is a 3.5-point underdog. At number 14, Tennessee, 56.5 is the current total.
Yeah, and just a disclaimer, I haven't bet this game like as a premium play for subscribers. 8-1 right now on the TV game for Bet on It, 20-7 overall in college football for the show. But I do like the Oklahoma side. I think this is a big test for Tennessee. We know how loaded they are on offense. I can't disagree. This is the number 1 offense in all of college football. They're the number 1 most efficient offense. They're like number 1 in scoring. They're number 1 in yard, like all the stats that actually matter as far as offense. They're the best, but they're going up against a really good defense in Oklahoma. It's a top 10 defense, so they're really going to get tested. So far, Tennessee has had a tough schedule. In fact, the 11th toughest schedule in all of college football. And to have the number 1 offense against that is very impressive. That's what's held me back from actually firing a premium play yet on the Sooners. I think this is a coin flip game. You're looking at 2 6-2 teams with almost the exact same point differential. You have Oklahoma with a plus 127 point differential. You have Tennessee with a plus 118 point differential. And both have top 20 toughest schedules. Like this really is a coin flip game. Like when we talk about fights sometimes, and it's whoever goes off as the dog, that's the side I like because I think it's that close of a fight, that type of coin flip. And if you're getting plus money in a coin flip, you got to take it. I think this is a coin flip because I don't think there's much home field advantage for either side. We saw Tennessee go into Oklahoma last year. They beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma. They were favorites to get it done. They got the job done. But more importantly, if you look at this year, they played just as well on the road as they've done at home. And for home field advantage, I'm looking for a team that plays a lot better at home or a lot worse at home than they do on the road. Show me you're 1-3 on the road and 4-0 at home, and that's a strong home field advantage. But if you're 4-0 on the road, 4-0 at home, doesn't really matter where you're playing. So I think this line, it has factored in that home field advantage where in this matchup isn't going to be all that important. I'm telling you now. Again, it's going to be a hype crowd. It's Tennessee, Oklahoma. I get it. But once the game starts, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So I like Oklahoma here. I like the getting 3.5. Whoever took the 3.5, I think they got a great bet. It probably may get back there by Saturday because I am seeing more Tennessee money, like 7 out of 10 bets so far in Tennessee, and the money on Tennessee, even though we saw the line drop a little bit. So put me on Oklahoma for the TV game. I think they go into Tennessee and win outright and surprise a lot, especially coming off that loss like they did against Mississippi last week as almost a touchdown favorite. I think they bounce back here.
All right, a late night special out in Utah, Marco, 10:15 p.m. Eastern. Number 17, Cincinnati is an 8.5 point underdog. At number 24, Utah, 55.5 is the total.
Yeah, Kelly, just say what you said again. Say it again. You got number 17, Cincinnati, at number 24, Utah, and it's over a touchdown. That tells you that, you know, Cincinnati, with the people that actually do this for a living, the bookmakers, aren't as high as the rankings are on them. And, you know, and I agree with them. Utah I was high on this team coming into this year. If you remember, we have a big play for our clients. We got a 5% play on Utah season wins over. So you know where I'm rooting. But I look at this game, and Utah, you know, they've held 6 of their 8 opponents to 14 or fewer points. Texas Tech is the only team this year that scored more than 24 points on this defense. They put up 34. Well, you know, 34, you know, that's a decent number, but that's below what Texas Tech had been doing to everybody else. And in those 34 points, they were aided by 4 Utah turnovers in that game. The Utah offense didn't miss a beat last week. Devin Dampier was out of the lineup, and they still put up 53 points on Colorado. Granted, that was Colorado. And if you remember last week, the injury reports upgraded Dampier to questionable, you know, in that game. And there was speculation that he was going to play. They decided game day not to play him. And I think it was because they were playing Colorado and they had this game on deck, which on paper should be a much tougher game. When he's in the lineup, this team's almost unstoppable. They're what I call a 200 club member. They rush for 267. They throw for 210. Cincinnati, a couple times this year, teams that could throw the football, well, they did some damage against the Cincinnati team. They gave up 445 yards passing and 34 points to Kansas, and they gave up 314 yards passing and 30 points to Iowa State. Utah's better than both of those teams. Utah's played a much tougher schedule thus far, and there's a reason they're laying over a touchdown. You'll find out Saturday why. Utah wins 35-20.
Hell, if I may intervene real quickly, Marco, Cincinnati is the 34th best team in the country right now. Utah, the 11th best team in the country. I agree with you 110%.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, I think Marco may have talked me off using Cincinnati as one of my underdogs. We'll see. We'll see. He's talked me off a couple. I've went against him on a couple. We'll see how this one ends up faring. VR, talk about some more of those power ratings. Yeah. Talk to me about some more of those power ratings. What you've got early on for the Steam report here in College Football Week 10.
All right. And like I talked about last week, I'm narrowing down the strongest sides that got hit that I don't see resistance, or I'll let you know where there's been resistance. And more importantly, where I don't believe there's going to be a middle attempt, or it's one of those picking off a weak number. Let me get into all weekday games. Start all weekend games, all Saturday games. Start off 323 East Carolina -4.5. 332 Florida State -8, -9. Went as high as 10 in some shops. That's where you saw the Wake Forest come in. So you know Wake Forest +10 is a buy. So if the books get a lot more risk on the Florida State side as it's starting to pile up, rest assured, all they have to do is move it to 10. There will be sharps ready to take it. They just got to hope the game doesn't land 8 or 9. Move on to NC State, 338 plus the 6.5 plus the 6. We'll talk about them a little bit later. 359 UCF +5 +4.5. 364 the Utah side Marco just touched on. Laid the 7.5 through that key number. 8, 8.5. That's why you're looking at close to a double-digit spread there. Miami 379. Miami bounced back off their dream-crushing loss. That was impressive last week. The only reason I didn't bet them was that trend. But they laid the 10, 10.5, and 11. 381 West Virginia plus the 15, plus the 14.5, all the way down to plus 14. That's why you can't get 2 touchdowns no more. And finally, South Carolina, 395 plus 13.5 plus 13. Again, those are the strongest moves that I haven't seen resistance except the Wake Forest side. And as you know, totals get hit Thursdays. So pay attention to that odds logic screen. You'll see everything you need to throughout the day. So best of luck. That's this week's theme report in college football.
Yeah, you'll also see VR this weekend, college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday on WagerTalk's Last Call, 11 a.m. Eastern. VR, talk to me real quick about the steam room on Sundays before the NFL kickoff.
Yep. An hour leading in the kickoff. Had a good time this last week. We were able to go through every single game. I share signed total player props that I have for that game. I share any information if we haven't bet it or I don't have any sharp moves from anyone else that shared. Let you know what I'm seeing in the back end of all the books. There to answer all your questions and finally put those plus EV teasers together towards those last 15 minutes. Last week, we actually had one teaser, only one, and then going into the last 15 minutes, the line moved and we just didn't have any teasers. So we stick to those rules and go over year-to-date results, risk management. And like I said, I'm there to answer all your questions and be accountable to my subscribers. So I really love doing it every week. And join us Sunday leading in the kickoff.
Yeah, here on the show, I've been asking the guys to jump in the comments and kind of talk to our audience, ask them what they're looking for and so forth. And Marco, one of the guys reminded me that during the segment, I used to call you Marco Barko. So Marco Barko, you are up first. Tell me which underdog this week in college football you think has the best chance to win outright.
Yeah, Marco Barko comments are every week in there, Kelly. So you haven't been in there enough to see them, but they're there.
I said, guys, I have been guilty. I have not been in there. I'm trying to get in there every single week. You guys got something to say? I'm here to listen. Marco Barko, take the floor.
All right, we're going to go with one here. In the knee-jerk reaction, Baylor returns home. And people are going to look for this team to bounce back. But I just don't trust this Baylor team. I haven't all year. The Baylor offense can score, but I can't lay points with a team that's allowed 117 points over their last 3 games. Guys, even the pathetic Oklahoma State team scored 27 points on this Baylor defense. UCF, they can control the clock with their power running game. This running game has averaged 212 yards per game over the last 4 games. It's that running game that sets up the passing game, which is throwing for 237 per game. And you know what I always say, I love these 200 club members. When you can do over 200 yards, both rushing and passing, it is so tough to defend these type of teams. Baylor, they've been an overvalued commodity all year. Why? Because if you remember when we did a lot of the August preview shows, they were one of the darlings coming in because of the way they ended last season. Everybody thought that there was going to be a natural continuation this year. It hasn't lived up, and the books just keep mispricing them. They're 1-7 against the spread this season. I'm not jumping on a favorite like that. I'll take the team UCF. They've held 5 of 7 opponents to 20 points or less this year. And I always say, give me the better defense, getting points. I'm going to sign up every time. That's my barking dog. It's not as big as last week's barking dog. Come on, Kelly. You didn't give me any credit for that 10.5-point dog last week with Rice.
It was Rice. Do you think I watched that game for one entire second, Marco? Do you think I knew that they won the game outright? I'm sorry. Good job, Marco. Thank you for the double-digit outright winner. I actually was laughing because I remembered it was Rice because I was like, no one cares about this football game. But you know what we do care about? Cashing those tickets. So good job, Marco Barko. VR, you're going with a team here that kind of screwed Marco last week, and I was on them as well. And I'm like, why are we going back to them this week?
Yeah, and it's a 3% play because I couldn't get a touchdown on it. We did get +6, so it's a 3% play. I don't have any 4% this week on Bet On It for the show, because I only narrowed down one really strong play and put that up yesterday as the $2 play. That'll be in Saturday's package. And I really like Saturday's card, but I'm not going to have a lot of volume. So got to save those for the subscribers. With that said, as far as the comments go, I wasn't able to go in last week and really do much, but I have been going in week by week. Keep those comments coming. I'll jump in there this week for sure. And please, you could disagree. Just make sure if you're going to bash, do it before the game starts, not after the game, because we all know the final after the game. With all that said, I've gotten a lot of pushback with my power ratings, and I can promise you, bro, I have no dog in the fight. I don't care. Like, don't tell me about I'm still mad over this team beating this team in 2018. I don't remember what happened 3 weeks ago. I don't have this hatred for your team if I'm fading them. Like, that's not the reason. Like, oh, VR just hates this team or he just hates this team. I don't hate any team. I could care less. I'm just going to follow what my numbers tell me. And what my numbers tell me is this Georgia Tech, as phony as a $3 bill, they played the 63rd toughest schedule in all of college football. 63rd toughest schedule. That's why they're 8-0. They have the 63rd toughest schedule, and they still have the 40th most efficient defense against that schedule, and still the 32nd most efficient offense against that schedule. So they're a top 10 ranked team that's not even in the top 30 in any meaningful offense or defensive category. And they have a schedule that's not even in the top 50 as far as toughest. And you're telling me this is a top 10 team in college football. You're nuts. I actually moved them up. I'm forced each week to move them up, and they're all the way up to 16 right now. So I'm giving them their respect, but top 10, you've lost your mind. Now, NC State, they're nothing to write home about. They're nothing to brag about. They're barely a top 60 team power rating wise. But with all that said, they've had a much tougher strength of schedule. They're only 500, but they have a positive point differential. They're playing at home and catching almost a touchdown. I think this game's a lot closer than that. Again, it's more a fade of Georgia Tech that's been outperforming the betting market. They're coming in undefeated, but more importantly, they've covered 3 straight games. The market's very efficient. An efficient market corrects itself. You're starting to look at a huge correction for Georgia Tech. And again, this is a strong home field advantage. Why? Because NC State's won 3 or 4 games there. They've lost 3 or 4 games on the road. That's the kind of team I want to back at home, especially catching points. Give me the 6 points, 5.5, whatever it is, with NC State. Live dog on the money line.
All right, more live dogs, and I got to give you guys a good one here because I'm giving you a little tiny chihuahua in the NFL. So I said, all right, I'm going to give you guys this one, and you guys are expecting this one. Like, who am I kidding? 8.5 was the highest line I saw on the odds logic screen at this opener. Circa opened, I think, 6. 7 is pretty much across the board here for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. If you like that side, I, however, do not. And I know last week I gave you guys K-State as a best bet. I said I made the game 5. Oh, guess what? I made this game 4. I don't understand where all of this insanity is coming from. I know this team inside and out, and I'm going to tell you why you need to take the touchdown with the Kansas State Wildcats, a team who has now covered 4 straight games, including that ass whooping last week in Lawrence that I didn't predict necessarily, but I did predict the win. Yes, the Cats gifted that Jayhawks team a touchdown right there off the fumble, and a lot of people groaned. I think you guys could hear my pain and sorrow, and I had to order a margarita early on with my friends and said, oh boy, here we go. But then the Cats do what they do best as an underdog. They go and they win the football game. Guess what they did last time they were the underdog versus TCU? They went and won the football game. And guess what they did at Baylor? They should have won the football game, but there was a weird face mask that may or may not have happened allegedly, and they got the cover. This is a spot where K-State is going to get the cover. Yes, Texas Tech has Morton back under center. Yes, he is the better quarterback. But the real reality is this Texas Tech team is vulnerable. We saw it at Arizona State, and you're going to see it in Manhattan at 2:30 Central Time there this week. I do not know if K-State can win this football game. I think that they are gritty. I think that there was, we'll call it some curses of the Aer Lingus Classic, the same one that got Florida State last year. But I think they have gotten over that hump. And yes, Barko might argue that this is a letdown spot after beating their in-state rival and how important that is. But I think this is a springboard. You beat your in-state rival by such an amount that next week carries over the momentum. You're back at home. Your fan base is bought in. Your coaching staff has things more well-rounded. Some of the distractions are no longer there. So I'm going to get off my pulpit. I'm going to tell you guys that I think K-State +7 is the play. And hopefully they don't break my heart in gut-wrenching fashion. But if they do, we still have Texas Tech 12-1 to win the Big 12, which would secure their spot at least in the mix. We'll leave it at that. Barko, the Deli has been crushing. I mentioned 61.7% on the season. That is in both. Talk to me about how it's been doing in college football and why you think the team that has ripped my guts out the last 2 weeks in a row is now a bet against.
No problem, Kelly. And let me update that record. I updated it on the NFL sheet, but unfortunately, I forgot to update it on the college sheet. It's 23-16 on the Deli. And what Kelly's referring to is the bonus edition. Every week I do a second video. It comes out on Thursdays. You can view that on our YouTube channel or watch the mega show because it is included with all of the shows surrounding Bet on It. We do that. And what I do is I come and give you guys 5 more plays. Generally, it's been 4 college, 1 NFL. Games that just missed being on Bet on It in my angles that I like to use, the sandwich shops, the trap games, all of those type of things. I break them down in detail like I do here, and you can view that on Thursday. Comes out late afternoon on Thursdays, Vegas time, so early evening on the East Coast for you guys. This sandwich game, we're going to take a look at Arkansas and Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, let's be honest, they have been an ATM for their bettors. And 7-1 against the spread's going to get them a lot of love. But I got to ask the question, how many gut-wrenching losses can this Mississippi State team have before the air goes out of the balloon? 2 weeks ago, they lose to Florida by 2 points. Now, I understand Florida's having a bad year, but it's still the name in the program. And for Mississippi State, that was a big game, and they came up just short as a 9.5-point underdog. To their credit, they come right back the very next week, last week, against Texas, and they lose in even more gut-wrenching fashion. They had Texas on the ropes the entire game. What changed the game in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, was a punt return for a touchdown by Texas. And then the other pivotal play was Arch Manning leaving the game with a concussion. Backup quarterback comes in, leads them to a victory in overtime. I got to ask again, how does Mississippi State pick themselves back up off the mat from that? That alone has me looking at Arkansas. Yes, Arkansas has lost 6 in a row, but they keep playing tough in those games. And if you look at their schedule, they've played one of the toughest schedules in the country. And even though they've played a tough schedule, they're still putting up big offensive numbers. 6.1 yards per play on the ground, 9.1 yards per play through the air. This is a spot where they got to take advantage of a team that I feel is deflated and then throw in the sandwich. This is the mother of all sandwiches. Mississippi State played Texas at home last week. They play Georgia at home next week. How do you get excited for that game in the middle against Arkansas that's lost 6 in a row? It's a great spot for Arkansas. Give me that sandwich. I know all those Mississippi State lovers that have been cashing all year don't want to fade them, but this is the spot to do it.
I'm the Mississippi State lover. Hi, it's me. This is losing that game up double digits marks the 6th underdog that was in my parlay, Barko, this year that blew a double-digit lead. So it has been a really fun one, and I hope Mississippi State gets the breaks beat off of them by the Hogs after what they did to me last week. Is that mean? Is that hateful? Is that spiteful? Speaking of, let's get to those best bets. VR, you are up first. Before you give me your best bet for college football week 10, please let me know what you've got going on over at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, I have a Thursday best bet up. Those primetime games have been on fire for us and fired one right away. Thursday night primetime, 4% best bet in college football. Number one in college football. We've won 9 of the 10 weeks. We've turned a profit in college football overall. I have my Saturday card up as well. 4% in there. Also, fired 3% already. Looking to confirm some really strong plays for Saturday. I like this board. Sunday, the NFL card will not go up till later in the week because we are firing a 5% in the NFL. I'm going for my third straight NFL 5% winner. Only fired 4 of those this year. 3 of those have cashed. Narrowed one down for us this weekend. So big weekend. And of course, we have the UFC card as well. So yeah, busy couple days. Good time to jump on board. Steam room on Sunday. So just looking to keep piling on profit, NFL and college football.
All right, VR. Week 10 is kind of interesting. We start to see the rubber meet the road. Teams that need 6 wins to get into the bowl games. And you've got kind of an under the radar team for us this week that might start to fit that criteria over the next couple weeks.
And before I share that real quickly, and I want to see those comments in the chat. Tell me where I'm wrong, honestly, because the good thing is by the end of the year, we'll know who was right, who was wrong. The overrated teams, because I didn't give you guys a 4% best bet this week, I'll give you some good information based on my power ratings. I'm going to tell you who else is phony in those rankings. BYU, phony. All right, they just made my top 20. Texas A&M, they're the next one that's going to be exposed. They are barely a top 15 team. They would only be a true number, a 1-point favorite against a 5-2 USC team based on my power ratings. Yes, Texas A&M should only be about a 1-point favorite against 5-2 USC. But the biggest phony of them all is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt would be an underdog to 4-4 Kansas State. They would be an underdog to 4-4 Auburn. And yet they are ranked number 9 in the country. Nobody phonier than Vanderbilt right now. As far as best bets go, out here where I'm living, UNLV, New Mexico, and we're going to fade UNLV. Now, I know when the season started, UNLV didn't go in the camp thinking they're going to win a national championship, but they were excited about this year's team, I can tell you, because I live here. Well, they had their dream crusher last week, okay? The Barko trend that's been money for us for decades, and there's no reason to fade it here. That loss cost them big time for UNLV. And even though they're a 6-1 team, they have a point differential of only 26. And the reason for that, they have a terrible defense, the 108th most efficient defense in all college football. You can't be laying points when you're the 108th best defense. The back door is going to stay open the entire game. And that's a team that's barely had a top 60 strength of schedule. You look at New Mexico, they have 2 more losses and yet a higher point differential. Another really close game that's much closer to a coin flip than almost a 2-1 favorite in the case of the money line for UNLV. Take the 3.5. That's still available. Buy it to 4 at anything less than 122. 4 is a really good number to get in this game. Open 5.5. That got picked off. The 5 got picked off. The 4.5 got picked off. It'll probably get down to that key number of 3 because multiple groups took New Mexico. I agree with them. So if you agree with me, don't wait. This line's probably not going to stay this high. So that's my bet for this week. Best bet, New Mexico, 3% sent to my subscribers.
All right, Marco, you've got a team that has potential to make the ACC championship game. But before you get into that, tell everybody how things have been going over at WagerTalk.com. We've got multiple sports going on. We've got college basketball right around the corner.
We've got all kinds of deals going, and obviously the Weekend Warrior has been the most popular package. $49. You get all of your favorite handicappers plays in football Saturday and Sunday. And if your handicapper that you purchased has a Monday night play, that gets thrown in free as well. But we've kind of come back and gave you a deal. It's almost too good to pass up, Kelly. If you're paying $49 for the weekend for football, I'm going to tell you about a deal that's going to cost you $35 a week, and you're going to get every football play, including all of those weekday plays. Here is the deal. Get the rest of the college and NFL season. College through the national championship game, NFL through the Super Bowl for just $490. That takes you service in football through February 8th, I think is the Super Bowl. That comes out to $35 a week. That's less than what you're paying right now for the Weekend Warrior package. It includes all those 5% plays that sell for $35 by themselves. Take advantage of this offer. Head on over to WagerTalk.com. You can pick out as many cappers as you want. And for me, we hit our 5% play last week. It was in the NFL on Sunday with Houston Texans. That brings our record to 34-16 the last 2 years on those 5% plays. We've got another one coming this weekend. Grab the Weekend Warrior or go for the better deal and grab the rest of the season. As far as best bets go, Kelly, we are going to look at a team that is in the hunt for the ACC title, and that is Virginia. But, man, they're making their followers pull their hair out because they keep winning close games. They haven't covered the last couple weeks, but they keep finding a way to win. And I think because of those close games the last few weeks, we're getting some line value here. They're 7-1 and ranked 15th in the country, but they've won their last 3 games by a combined 6 points. Now, Virginia had pulled off back-to-back upsets over Florida State and Louisville. Okay, that started them to get attention. And it was after those 2 wins that they were a big favorite against Washington State, a non-conference game. Well, they kind of looked past Washington State and had to rally to win that game by 2 points. They were down double digits at halftime. Clearly, they looked past them. Then the last week, they went to North Carolina and escaped with a 1-point victory, 17-16. Now, I think people are overreacting to that because everybody remembers how bad North Carolina was to start the season. But if you look the last 2 weeks since they came off their bye week, where Belichick had an extra week to sort things out, get stuff that didn't work out of there, fix the things, tweak the things that did work, they've played back-to-back good games. They went to California and gave California all they could handle, and then they gave Virginia all they could handle last week. So I'm not going to overreact to last week's close game, but I am going to overreact to California. Although they look like a very live dog, they're coming off a gut-wrenching loss last week. And again, it was one of those Friday night primetime games. They played Virginia Tech, and they ended up losing that game in double overtime. I do not like backing teams off of an overtime loss, let alone a double overtime loss. California cannot run the football. They've been held to 80 or fewer yards in 5 of their last 6 games. My numbers say that this line should be closer to 7 than it should be to 4, as the market has overreacted, as I said. And let's face it, all these close games that Virginia's played in recent weeks, if this game is tight in the fourth quarter, doesn't that give the advantage to Virginia because they keep playing these tight games and finding ways to win? Whereas California had a tight game, go to overtime, they found a way to lose. I'm going to go ahead and take Virginia. This is one of those buy low scenarios. Give me Virginia, lay the 4. I've got them winning this one by 10, 30-20.
All right, Marco and I were head-to-head on this team last week. I had the 7.5 with Northwestern. He had the push with Nebraska. And look, did Northwestern really have a chance to win that game? Probably not. Nebraska really controlled the time of possession. They controlled the tempo, and their defense did a few things to benefit them. And that's why I like them now catching almost a touchdown here at home against a USC team we've been betting against on the road since they entered the Big Ten. They're now 1-8 straight up against the spread in games played in the Central or Eastern time zone. The Trojans have since lost in the Big Ten 6 games as a road favorite. I think this one becomes 7. I know there's a lot of rumors about Matt Rule going to Penn State, but Nebraska did not seem bothered by that in the slightest last week. Remember, this Michigan team just a few weeks ago closed at a pick'em at Nebraska. Now, all of a sudden, they are a touchdown home dog. Maybe I'll let VR kind of allude to the power ratings there, but I think that they're pretty close rated the same. I think this number is way too high. I like Nebraska with the better defense here at home as my best bet for college football week number 10. Let's get that recap graphic up for everybody so that you guys can have it from VR, Marco, and myself. Until next week, let's bet on it. If you guys are looking for that mega show, college football, NFL, and all of the specialty segments right here. And of course, the NFL edition of Bet On It